July school board meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. Consent agenda. Any public comments? Okay.
President Nelson, I do have a few items on the consent agenda that I need to highlight. First, there was an item that was missed when the agenda was posted, and that is under the benefits. This year, we're having building subs part of the rest for $3. So we had to have a separate line item for building subs, and so that is now attached on the agenda, as well as on your table, you'll see a hard copy of that. Under K, Sprinkler Spirit Indemnification Agreement. You'll remember last board meeting, Roger highlighted that we had an old MOU with the city about this yearly event that's ran over the 4th of July. And then he said that he would correct it and get it signed so that we could go ahead and be indemnified for the Sprint Sparkler. But this is coming back for, I signed it, but it's coming back for you all to sign as well tonight. And then under L is the SRO agreement with the city. And if you recall, under that agreement, we do receive the officers, and then if there's any money left over from the grant, we reimburse some of that. Mr. Betts is writing that new safety grant right now, but the SRO agreement is our annual agreement with the city. And those were the three things. On the surplus items, I did want to highlight, you'll notice that there are doors from Union Elementary on the surplus items. Those are the doors that were the older doors that we've had, and they did not lock properly with regard to safety, and so we had to get new doors. So we're adding those as surplus items. We would also like then to designate that the PTO from Union Elementary would get those doors, and they're going to use them in their chili supper as fundraiser to give back to Union Elementary. But we have to first declare them as surplus. So that's what you'll see tonight under the surplus items for Union Elementary. But I did want to note that the PTO has asked that they receive those as a kind of a gift back after we declare them as surplus.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I also would just like to thank Mr. Ryan Fireban, who was our baseball coach the past 10 years. Ryan has a young son coming up to be a baseball player as well, and I think he wants to be a dad and coach at that end and not the varsity. But Ryan obviously did a great job, and last year will be one for the records for him in the history books as well as just in memory making with having Max be on the team and everything that was going on. When I did talk to him, he said he was head baseball coach, but he was also consultant on all these different things and had to try to organize and everything. So just want to thank Ryan for all the things that he did for us in the baseball. Did a great job. And that job is posted. We are looking for a new coach.
Okay, the superintendent reports. Summer project date.
I'd like to welcome Mr. Betts. This is his first time to speak to us in his new capacity. So I've asked him to kind of talk about some of the summer projects because we're just a few weeks away from school starting. We have several big ticket items that we have been monitoring all year, and I wanted to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on. So, Mr. Betts.
All right, thank you guys. It's been a busy 3 days since I've started, and Jeff Sewell has been fantastic getting me caught up to speed on a lot of things, and I would really like to thank him before I get started. And I'll try not to take up too much of your time, but I wanted to provide you with some pictures of some things and give you an update on what's going on. The bottom right picture on here, you'll see that they're doing tuck pointing around the pool area at the high school, and that is continuing. They're almost fully around to the south side. But if you see those guys out there, that's what they're doing up there, fixing the mortar between all the bricks and everything there. So that masonry work is scheduled to be completed around July 14th. The other pieces on here are pictures of the different windows and framing that goes around them that has been fixed at the high school that have just been that need to be done just due to weathering and the age of the building as well, and that's been taken care of as well. FCMS as well, I didn't put pictures of this on there, didn't get any of them yet. They had masonry work that's being completed as well, and we'll be working with the contractors to do a punch list on those next week to make sure everything was done correctly and that we're moving forward in the right manner. Next, at Northwood, this is one, Northwood and the next couple you see are going to be projects we have going on. When you see all the flags on the top of the buildings, people kind of ask me, like, what the heck's going on up there? We're obviously redoing all the roofs up there. We've got crews out there. If you drive by, even I drove and picked my son up around 5:30, and they were still up on web working. So they're replacing all those roofs at Northwood, and the progress in the pictures that you see here are from the week of leading into the July 4th weekend. They've made some further improvements on those in the last week as well, and they are on schedule and progressing as they should. We'll be working on getting another update on those, but that is the Northwood roof project. And when you go to the next page, really interesting stuff that I'm learning more and more about. These are the heat pumps that have been placed in Northwood, and all 42 heat pumps are set, piped, and the electric is run to them. And that part is completed in Northwood. 2 new boilers in there as well, and we have 2 new boilers out at Creekside as well that are going and being worked on as well. Train, it will be coming in this week to work on all the controls that will help run all of those. And so you might see some of them coming in and out of the buildings at Northwood as well. Creekside has all their heat pumps delivered. I don't have pictures for you of that, but theirs are in different spots. They have a couple of mezzanines that are up above the building, and those are all placed and put in there. They're working on piping and getting the electric run to all of those this week. And we are continuing to check on the progress of those. They're a little bit behind, but they've got more guys out there working on them this week to try and catch them back up and get them on schedule. The next one, Webb's roof. There's two big things. Is the roof, just like Northwood going on there, a similar type of a roof. They're progressing just as like I said, they're working probably still right now. It's still light out. And then also the masonry, because my kids asked me this. I figure people are noticing. If my son noticed it, there's bricks missing. And that was a pretty big thing to him. So I figured people might be asking about that. So you're going to see that there's bricks, the masonry work going on around there that they are completing. And everything still is looking like it's progressing on schedule with that as well. And they've got the brick workers out there to complete that around the vents that you see around the building at Webb. The next one, this is the one you guys probably get asked about, and I get asked about every time I turn around as well, is the football field, the turf. And there's a drainage issue there that we'll talk about. Today, spoke to Nate, the project manager for it, and it looks like there's a good chance that we might be doing a walkthrough on that project on Wednesday to hopefully get that completed and maybe get kids on there Thursday or Friday. We did have to do a change order over the weekend for that, and the design for it, there was not a media line around the outside of the football field, and we need that so that anytime there's an event, any people with press don't go beyond that line into the field. So they did. I told Nate, great job, because I don't know how they got it done. They basically put a dashed line around the entire field Saturday or Sunday between rain showers. I don't know how they did it, because I got here this morning and it was done. So great job by them. They are working. If you drive out there, they are out there day, night. It's unreal. They're getting after it. The ugly piece you see on the bottom left is a part of our drainage system that need to be redone. The concrete was falling apart there, so they've taken that out, and they are working to get that done this week as well. They had to special order some new drainage pieces. The ones that we have are not the same, or they're old, and the newer ones are not the same, so they're doing some different kind of work to make sure those fit and we don't have standing water out there. On the last page, just gave you a picture of the entire field and what it looks like right now. One of the things that I've been asked a lot by people is, can I go take the excess turf? They've got it all rolled up out there. And it looks like you can take it, but if you look at it closely, and what I've told people, and after I tell them this, they kind of don't want it, is it looks like old carpet if you bought a house, or like if you've got old carpet in your house, it's starting to fray apart and it's kind of hard, and it's not really good. It looks nice because it's all rolled up and looks green up there, but when you get up close, it's pretty rough. Or if you do want it, you're going to have to do a lot of work to get it back into shape or at your own property to get it to lay right. And usually once you tell people that, they don't have as much interest in it. Plus, it just would be tough, I think, to use it in a good manner with the way it looks, and it does look pretty rough. So if you could ask those questions, that might help, or you can send them my way, and I'd be happy to talk to them as well. And that's all I have for you.
Mr. Betts, how much was the change order for the media line? Do you
It
recall?
was around 6,400.
So that'd be additional.
Yep. And that was something as we looked at it, Mr. Doty, Coach Call and I were standing there, and Mr. Gabart, we all kind of kept thinking something was missing, and then Coach Call and I started talking, like, yep, the media line's missing. And if we didn't do that, we'd have had to spray paint it on all the way around multiple times a year for as long as that turf was there. That's not a fun time.
One thing also to note, when you look back at the football field, you'll notice the yellow lines. This is a new addition to the football fields. We have inserted the soccer lines on the football field. So you will see Mr. Betts has created those, so they're yellow, and the goalie area also is on there. So we could see some of our teams playing out there this year, especially for inclement weather. And giving us just more opportunities to get the schedule done in real time, but also to let the kids practice on there to give their legs a break sometimes from the surface on the soccer field.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Nice job.
Okay, action items, any public comments? All right, curricular resources.
Yes, President Nelson, thank you. I do have one change since the last meeting. If you'll remember, it's been a bit, but back in June, I noted that the business course from Indiana University, I had just been in correspondence with them on the text for that particular course. That was part of that IU core, college core that we had adopted in an earlier meeting. That textbook I have now added to this list. So now everything is in one place, but I wanted to let you know I did make that one change to that list. I do also want to remind everyone there are no fees, as a reminder, so textbook rental and fees will not be billed to families. However, I do want to state that the processes in place for damaged or lost items still hold. So for example, if you've damaged or lost your Chromebook, if you damage or lose a library book, we have in here the lanyard for the middle school and the playbook, but your PE uniform. Those types of things we are still permitted by law to maintain our current processes for those fees. So I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, do you have a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. C is RISE agreement.
Yes, no changes since the last meeting with this agreement. Just as a reminder, this is the alternate placement for our New Connection students. And this agreement allows us to place between 8 and 15 students at that facility. And as part of that agreement, we will pay for 2 extra seats above our enrollment. And that equates to about $105,000 a year. So it's a 3-year agreement, and planning on, I think Ms. Scott has probably all those seats filled, so.
Is that right?
I'm sorry?
Is that correct? We have most. Okay.
Any questions on that?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. The handbooks. Brooke?
Thank you. Yes, the only change from the June meeting is that we added the high school handbook per requested. The other 2 were listed, but that handbook wasn't included.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. salary benefit schedule for adjunct teacher.
Yes, I think Dr. C has talked a little bit about the opportunity to hire adjunct teachers. I think that the state came up with a good alternative to hiring a certified teacher, especially in those areas where we might struggle to find someone, welding, engineering, those kind of things. So we have created a salary and benefit schedule that pretty much mirrors the certified teacher schedules, and kind of parceled those out. If we hire the adjunct to teach 2 classes, it's going to be a 2/7 contract and so on. We do have one teacher that will fall into this category this year, and that is Mike Hart, our weights coach at the high school. So I feel like this is a great alternative for some of those areas where we might struggle later to find people to teach.
Move for approval. I'll move for approval.
A second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. The Verbalocity agreement.
All right, no changes since the last meeting. This is for our keynote speaker for our back-to-school event on August 31st. And a portion of this cost was underwritten by First Merchants Bank. So, and the remaining funds will come from our employer of choice.
And that's July 31st, not August?
July 31st. Did I say August?
You did.
Okay.
We can
Sorry
dream
about that.
school would start that date.
July 31st.
I'll move for approval.
A second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. Policies, second reading.
Yes, thank you, President Nelson. We have 3 policies, Policy 2266, Policy 5722, and Policy 6550. All were under first reading last time. The 2266 is also in response to the OCR mediation that will go into the handbooks of each of the respective schools. So I would ask that the board consider these, and I recommend approval.
Okay, I'll move for approval.
A second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And they pass. Moving along to discussion items, food services, community eligibility provisions.
Okay. So Elizabeth recently came to me with a proposal about using a different calculation for free and reduced lunches and breakfasts. There is an alternative path you can use, which is called a CEP calculation, Community Eligibility Provision. So rather than collecting free and reduced applications, it's more of an upload of government benefits that families and households might receive. So it's more of an automated calculation for our different buildings. And she ran the calculations preliminarily, and it showed that Northwood and Creekside would both be eligible for free and reduced lunches for everyone. The difference is, if you use this calculation, everybody gets free lunch and breakfast instead of just those that qualified for free and reduced. The downside is only 2 buildings qualified. So we still need to dig into the details of the calculation and make sure that the enrollment counts that we're using are correct. I also have a question on the reimbursement rate. I believe that a certain percentage will only be reimbursed at a paid rate. So we need to make sure that we can cover the difference between the reimbursement rate and the paid rate. So there are some things that we need to verify and talk to DOE about before we bring this to the board for final approval. But today, I just kind of want to get an idea from you conceptually. Would you be okay with saying, okay, 2 out of 5 buildings get free lunches and breakfast? The others would be just free and reduced.
So the other schools, they would still have to file the application?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
How would you determine which ones?
Well, we've done preliminary calculations, and so far anyway, Webb is very close. The calculation has to be 40%. Northwood's at 40.96, and Creekside's at 40.2. So we're just barely over that threshold. And then Webb is at 38.61. So I'm not sure about the enrollment numbers that we've used. We've included the community preschool in those numbers, and we charge that. The cost of their lunches is included in the fees that they pay. So if we get reimbursement for that, are we double dipping? So there's some detail behind here that we need to flesh out. But I guess from a public relations perspective, are you okay treating 2 buildings different than our other 3?
I don't really like that. It would be nice if there was a way we could, prorate it throughout the 5 buildings, the 5 elementaries, but I'm sure that's not possible with the government. So it just seems
Yeah.
like you'd have a lot of upset parents if you said, oh.
Right, and you may have a parent who has kids in different buildings too.
Different buildings, yeah.
Yeah.
And what date do you use? Because, we could still have kids coming in,
We would,
past,
if we decided to do it this way, we would lock in for 4 years.
The date is April 1st of every year.
okay,
So at April 1st of every year, we would
whatever your count is.
freeze everybody,
Uh-huh.
come with that calculation, and then move forward.
And so if we agree to this, it's for 4 years?
Annually, we can choose to unenroll in the program
Yeah.
by June
Oh.
30th of each year.
But our eligibility would be for 4 years.
Okay, gotcha.
Did they calculate high school, middle school, and CPIS?
No, not yet.
Okay. Because that would be the other factor that we have not calculated. They could be very close as well. High school, middle school, and CBIS
Oh, so you only calculated the elementary schools?
at this point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this question.
And I can come back, that's why I wanted to include this as a discussion item,
Right.
just because there's so much more to flesh out. I don't need really any answers today. We'll go ahead and do our due diligence on calculations and bring it back to the board.
Okay.
But in that 4 years, if another school would meet the criteria, they can, so you might have a shuffling of different buildings, different years. Could potentially. Because if Northwood's free and reduced rate would go down, or Creekside's would, they wouldn't be eligible the next year, is that correct?
Well, if we determine that Northwood and Creekside are eligible starting this year, we would lock in for 4 years.
Okay.
We
But
would
you
be
could
eligible
add
for
as-
4 years.
But you could add as time goes on?
We
to
can
other
add,
buildings?
yes.
Interesting.
And we can, if we decide we don't like it, we can also drop out of it and go back to free and reduced.
And no penalties or,
Right.
perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I do think if we include other schools, just reading the document, the agreement's not transferable, so we would have to come back and ask you to approve Webb and some of those, it looks like, and some of those. And Tina and Elizabeth have been working on this. She and I talked for probably an hour about this concept about it, the fair, and how we deliver the information, and making sure the numbers are correct. I would say on a positive to this, when we had to start paying for lunches, our indebtedness in the lunch account continued to climb. At one point, we were in the teens of thousands, upside down. I think we finished
17.
17. What did we
Had we-
finish up with? We're still,
Had we not had any donations, we would have been 17,000 in the red. We ended up at 2,500.
so that would be a reason to do it, because you take two schools out, and especially with both of them being one of our larger elementaries, we wouldn't see that indebtedness that we're seeing. And that's actually one of the big pros that we talked about during our meeting. So that's something for us to consider. It does give parents a break at those two schools.
Yeah.
I would say Northwood, in the poverty ranking, if we just went to straight poverty as the demarcation, Northwood's going to be number one, Webb, and then Creekside. Those are the three. The one that's actually, we're seeing a significant change out of redistricts, Needham Elementary. I know Brooks worried on the other end in Title I about Needham, because there are some things that if they were to continue to go to more in the paid status, it could have a significant impact on them, because they would not get some of those same services that they're receiving now. So it's definitely a juggling act, and Tina's done a great job of kind of probing and asking questions, but it really just for you all to think about. And
I just, do you think that people would, they know then that, those two schools that they've asked to transfer to them? Do you foresee that being a problem?
That's a great
You
point.
ask them, why are you wanting to do this, right? I mean, are you gonna?
And it's hard to explain, too, why only two buildings qualify.
well, we blocked many people from going to Creekside because that's where we're seeing, enrollment growth, and in the neighboring neighborhoods that go into Creekside. But I would see parents saying, well, if that's the case, I'll just transfer in there. It's a good deal. And then that could have a negative effect. So there are a lot of really good questions. We'll write those down.
Yeah, just something to think about over the next few weeks.
During our retreat, we can bring this back up, kind of the strategic plan conversation about how that impacts us and what we want to do as we move forward.
It sounds like a great opportunity. It's just.
I
a lot of
know.
work.
You hate to turn down an opportunity for parents to get some relief,
Right.
but it's not all parents either, so.
Has this option always been out there, or is this something kind of a reaction?
No, I read a memo today. I think it came out like 2016 maybe.
Okay.
So it's been around for a while. But we must not have hit the magic 40%. They are talking about possibly decreasing that to 25%. And if that happens, then we probably are good across the board.
The next threshold is a much higher free and reduced status number, and then everybody would get that. But we're probably, I don't know what that number is. I think it used to be 85% of your building or 90% of your building was free and reduced. You got free breakfast, free lunch. So we're a long way from that. This just does give relief to parents in those two buildings.
Yeah. So we'll flesh out those details and come back next time.
Okay. So next, is it, I'm sorry, this is written in. So is B the education advanced? Is that you?
Yes, it's me. Thank you for your grace. So I wrote about Education Advanced in Friday Notes. David and I have been reflecting on our evaluation process this past year, and honestly, it's been a conversation on the admin side for I would say the last couple of years as we talk about evaluations, whether it's certified or classified evaluations, just managing the process. Currently, David and I don't have a great way to hold people accountable, frankly, or to track where we are. And so we talked to a number of colleagues. David talked to some of his colleagues, and I spoke with a number of mine on the curriculum instruction side. Many people are using Education Advanced. It used to be Standards for Success, so that's a term that many people will recognize. We met with them. We're pleased with what we saw. And so the invoice that you see attached is from them. It's $10 for classified staff, $28 for certified staff. We would like to propose that we use Title II dollars, our professional development dollars, to cover this cost. I am happy to entertain questions. I would like to revisit this then at the retreat on July 19th. So anytime between now and then, I'm happy to ask more questions or to dig in. We have done some investigating into this product. I do think it would be an asset and a benefit to our entire process structure.
How much time does this save? Can you measure that?
Mr. Betts, did you hear the question? Mr. Betts used it in his previous employment. How much time did using advanced ed save the administrator?
Nothing against the way that it's been done here before, but when Dr. Clendenning asked me about it, I kind of shockingly said, "You're still doing that?" Because what this will save for administrators in their day-to-day life by going in and having a system that's already there that has all the standards there, and now you're clicking, did they meet that standard? Did they go, are they highly effective, or they need improvement? And you're able to click it, write a synopsis up real quick, and it's done. And then the bigger part for me as an administrator in the 2 districts I've done this in before with this same system is it's immediate feedback for the teacher. You don't have to go back and rewrite something, go back and redo something, save it to a drive, and then share it. When you're done, you click observations complete, share with staff member, and it immediately goes to their email as well. So it's a time saver for both staff as administrators and teachers. The other part of it is you can add things in, and they're very collaborative with you so that you can add all kinds of things in, and they will craft it to what you need in your district. So it's a huge time saver, especially for administrators who are trying to do sometimes 30 to 40 observations of staff members, or 30 to 40 staff members on their observation list.
I would say in addition to that particular efficiency, we have some admin right now that are not only sending information electronically, they're printing out copies and keeping binders and putting together a spreadsheet as to what type of evaluation and when needs to be done for this staff member. Is this staff member new, so they need 4 and they need this type? It eliminates all of that work as well. The system would take care of all of that for them.
It also goes to electronic signatures as well, so that you don't have to keep paper copies of them forever in a filing cabinet. Everything, it stores it all for you.
It also allows Dr. Clendenning and I to get an email or an update so that we can monitor where we are with each of our evaluators on completion. Are we 76% complete and we've got 20% of the school year left? Where are we? We can't do that right now. And I think actually for the evaluator and for us, that component is really helpful. They don't have a systematic way to see that either unless they've created their own spreadsheet and they're monitoring that themselves. So
Saves a lot of time, it sounds like.
I think one additional feature that I would add is that we will get access to other schools' resources. So if they're doing something in their evaluation in a rubric or another way to help gather information, you get to see that. And then, as you know, the state law just changed, that we now get to really go back to what we want to do in the evaluation cycle. So it may not be a significant change this year, but it would give Dr. Wortland and her committee a chance to see others without her doing all the work and pulling them all in through this resource. So that's another benefit that I saw as she highlighted the product.
Any public comments? Okay. Any board comments? Admin comments?
I want to jump in very quickly and thank all of our staff and administrators, teachers who attended the Building Thinking Classrooms Conference. I want to thank the community of Franklin. It was, in many ways, an all-hands-on-deck. Hoosier hospitality was the theme, and I think we knocked it out of the park. So especially to Melissa McCain, Mandy Ramey, Katie Senzinger, and Amanda Ray, who have really been the team that has been working with CIESC throughout this year. It is the first ever conference of its kind, and the next one will be in Arizona. So it will move to Arizona next year, and then over to the East Coast and back to the Midwest. So congratulations to all of them. I think it was a huge success. We had people from, I think, 14 different nations, states throughout the U.S., and so it was well received by all. So many positive comments about our town and our facilities. So kudos to everyone. So it was great.
A couple other reminders. Coming up on the 19th, we are having our annual July board retreat, looking at the strategic plan. We'll be upstairs at the Chamber of Commerce on Jefferson. For lunch, we're actually just going to walk downtown to either Court Street or Benjamin's or Ann's, and just kind of enjoy the outside during that time as well, since we're going to be so close. The opening session will be talking about the Earlywood transition, and we are having an attorney from Churchill and Antrim who is the attorney for Earlywood. They're helping us in the transition. As you know, we're going to become the trustees of records. Tina has been involved in early conversations already. Obviously, Mrs. Scott has been a part of that conversation as we've traveled forward, but there's a lot to know, and it's going to fall upon us. And so they're going to be with us the very first part of that session for about 60 to 75 minutes, talking about Earlywood transition and the property. I know that's a lot of questions about that, and it looks like that's going to probably end up falling to us in the process. And what does that really mean? So there's going to be a lot of questions on that. Other than that, we're going to talk about the strategic plan. Where are we spending our money? I'm also looking at, does the plan need to change? What are some things in there that we see? We're going to talk about policies and the new law. Friday nights, a couple weeks ago, I sent you some documents. If you look through, there was like 86 slides that State House Counsel provided for us. But we're going to go over some of those laws because some of them are significant that took into effect on July 1. One that I'll highlight on personnel. The state opened the door that there are 13 areas where we could say, yeah, we'll hire somebody. It'd be like if they got a DUI. This is a good example. If someone got a DUI. In the past, we would just say no. The state law changed and said if the board wants to hire that person, they could, but what you have to do is have a separate agenda item on the personnel report, and you guys have to then vote publicly on that separate individual. So obviously, it's a way to call out or stress or shame or whatever we're going to call it in those areas. So we're going to talk about those 13 areas. What do we want to do? Another one has to do with the legal aspects of dealing with special education. And we have to articulate to you within 5 days what maybe a potential lawsuit would cost us. And you'll have to tell us what is that threshold that you want to be notified. That's a new state law, and we're working on that. So there's a lot of stuff that'll go on. We'll be done by about 3:30 that day. So as we get started around 8:30 to 3:30, and then we'll go to lunch. I'm going to work with Mrs. Nelson this week, and we'll get the agenda out there, buddy. We'll do both, probably hard copy if you want, but also Google Drive, and we'll have access to technology at the chamber. So we'll have our Chromebooks and everything ready for that. Back to school is here, July 31st. We're going to tell something good about our school district with a keynote speaker. So we're going to be at the high school, so just want to remind everybody of that. We have the first day of school, August 2nd. New teacher orientation, the 28th. 26th and 27th? 26th and 27th. And also, we will have open house for kindergartner and different before that second. Most of them are going to do August 1st with getting kindergartners in. I would say right now, preliminarily, our kindergarten class is very small, which surprises all of us. So I'm telling everybody, if you've got a kindergartner out there, please come and enroll them. Our doors are open. They open today, but we do need to get those enrollments in. So that's what's ahead of us. So those are the things that I wanted to make sure we highlighted. Thank you.
Motion for adjournment.
We shall adjourn.
We shall adjourn.